Okay.
All right. It is 7:01. I am calling to order the Merrimack School District Budget Committee meeting of June 6, 2023. Could we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everybody to a new season. It's really nice to see the turnout that we have this evening. The others have been excused for good and purposeful reasons. And even though we all know each other reasonably well, we have a new member here. And rather than make her feel singular as a new member, for those of us who know or don't know, but more particularly for the public, if we could just go around the table and just introduce ourselves, because we may have new watchers that don't know any of us as well. So I'd like to start, if I can, with Michelle Mackey. Pull your microphone close, please.
I am Michelle Mackey. I have 3 kiddos in the school district at Thorntons Ferry. I have one that will be moving up to the upper L and one going into kindergarten. So all 4 of my kiddos that start a new next school year will be in school. Yay.
Hi, I'm Shane Albuquerque. Been on the committee for a couple years, and I'll have 2 kids in Reeds next year.
Naomi Halter. I'm the school board representative, and I've got 2 kids in Merrimack schools as well, one at Thorntons and one will be going into the middle school next year.
I'm Chuck Mower. I've been on the committee for some number of years. I have no children in the Merrimack School District, which is the goal that all of you are looking toward. I am glad to say that 4 of my boys have all matriculated and have done exactly what they were supposed to do. They left home and got good jobs and have a nice family and are enjoying life.
Hi, I'm Naomi Schoenfeld. I don't remember how long I've been on this committee now, but a number of years. Do you know, Finn? I was a school board liaison for a while, and then I came on as my own person in that result. I don't have any children in the district, have not and will not, but I am a career educator, and that's part of the link to it.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Murphy. This is my 6th year, I believe, on the budget committee. And I went through all of the Merrimack schools through my K through 12 education.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gina Groff. You'll notice a theme here. My children also go to Thorntons Ferry School. I have 3 of them, too, so they'll be there next year. I've been on the budget committee for a couple of years now and looking forward to this year and coming years.
I'm Dan Coakley. This is my 2nd term on the budget committee. I had 3 girls who went through the system. I now have 3 grandchildren that are in the system. One is at Thorntons Ferry. The other 2 are at the high school. And full disclosure, I have a daughter on the school board.
Hello, I am Rachel Papke. This is my 2nd year on the budget committee, and I have 2 children, one in middle school and one in the upper elementary.
But he was in Thorntons.
Hi, I'm Jennifer McCormick, and I've been a Merrimack resident for about 18 years. I have 2 boys. One is in the 5th grade and one is in 7th grade. And they both went through the Thorntons Ferry Elementary. We live on that side of town. And I'm thrilled to be here and meet everyone and get started. Thanks.
I'm Ellen, and I'm apparently from the wrong side of this town because I have a Master Cola student. Yeah, I guess we're on the wrong side, man. So Ellen Wilson, I've had 3 kids. My youngest is in Master Cola. My oldest is in the high school, or my oldest is completed, and my middle one's in the high school. And I think this is my 2nd term. I don't know, it's been a long time now.
Well, thank you all very much. It's been my custom as chairman to include public participation at both the beginning of our meetings and at the end of our meetings without regard to agenda content or anything else. I admit we have not had a lot of public. I do not see any public here this evening, but it is the goal and the action of the Budget Committee to try and accommodate questions from the public about how their school system works and how it is funded, and to alleviate or allay any misgivings they may have about being in one school or another. And anything that we can do to help our community and our school community with being able to answer and address questions for them. So I hope that is a practice that we continue to place on the agenda. The next item of business tonight is reorganization. And so it will be a relatively short meeting, I think. But I would like to take an opportunity to tell all of you that it is my intention not to stand for renomination as chairman. I ran for election this past year and was confirmed by the voters, and I will be taking my place somewhere at this table other than as chairman. And there are a number of reasons for that, which I would like to enumerate. By way of a brief history, I have been around a long time. I don't think that in itself disqualifies anybody from continuing on in positions that they seem to be effective in. And yet at the same time, I do not have any children in the school district. I have a passionate regard for the community and for the school community. And I will continue to hold that. But I do not have children in the district schools. And I think it's important that we have candidates who will find that to be an asset in the conduct of their business on the Budget Committee. And I know when it is time to step back. Years and years go by and you pray for somebody to come along and pick up the baton. Where are the young people? Where are the ones who will follow? Why aren't they here volunteering? And we all know that because everybody thinks we're crazy for public service. And yet public service is fundamental and very, very important. And I'm glad that you all share that. We had a great season last year. We accomplished a great deal. And I'm looking forward to a terrific year ahead. I will tell you that 3 years ago, I had quite a battle to have respect for the elected members of the Budget Committee and for many in the community and in the school community to abandon their misguided understanding of who the Budget Committee is and what it does. We, in fact, own the budget for the school district. It is our budget. It is the 12 of us that decide what is prudent and whether or not we are going to include it in the budget and fund it. Obviously, we like collaboration from the administration and from the school board. But the school board has its hands full with its own responsibilities. Ours, by statute, legitimately, is the job of developing, producing, bringing a budget to the voters, and signing off on it. That's a very big job, and you've all done a great deal to improve that performance over the last 3 years. I couldn't be happier. And yet now for me, it's a time to step back, sit on the side of the table, where I will enjoy perhaps more freedom to speak about issues that I am passionate about, that I wouldn't necessarily address as the facilitator for the budget committee. And so I don't think of myself as going away. I think of myself as participating fully. So with that in mind, I thank you all for the support that you have given me, and I hope that I have done well to sustain the honorable intentions of each and every one of you.
We appreciate you, Chuck.
At this time, I would like to have the privilege of nominating my successor, should it be a confirmation of your vote, as chairman of the Budget Committee. I'd like to nominate Naomi Schoenfeld.
Second that, and I'd move for a unanimous vote.
Oh, goodness, Carol's not here this evening. So we can do it by a show of hands. All those in favor, raise your hand and signify in the affirmative. Thank you all very much. And Naomi, you are now the new chairman.
Can I say no?
I will step aside for you to continue the nomination process of reorganization.
Those are ridiculously large shoes to fill, you realize. Moving over one chair. I believe that we have one more place to fill, and that is the vice chair. So I'll take nominations for the vice chair position. Alan.
Well, I wanted to nominate Mackenzie. Okay. I know.
Can I second that nomination? Thank you, Dan. I'd second that nomination. Politely declined, Dan. I appreciate that. I do. Thank you.
So do we have a second for Mackenzie Murphy?
I will second Mackenzie.
Any discussion? I'd like to say that I think, please.
Well, just a reflection on what I said previously. We have been waiting years for younger people to come along. I mean, particularly people like Pat and myself, who practically are older than the school district itself. And
Let's
That's
not get
correct.
crazy.
That's correct. I said it. You bet. Mackenzie has demonstrated not only a passion, but an ability to juggle a lot of different things all at once. And there may be individuals who feel that she will be a little bit stretched. But I think that it's just giving her the freedom of movement to accomplish all of those things well. Mackenzie is an individual that doesn't want to look through a skylight. She wants an unobstructed view of the heavens. She is an idealist, a young idealist who can set the example for other young people, that the world ahead is positive, worthwhile, and worth making a role for. And I couldn't be happier than to see Mackenzie in any of the roles as a young member of our community. Thank you very much, Mackenzie.
I think she should be stretched. That's what she's been prepping for all these years.
Any other discussion? Okay, let's call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous. So being chair is very, very different from not being chair, and it will take me time to settle into this. I appreciate the opportunity to do it. I've been looking forward to giving this a try and seeing where it takes us. We have a few small changes, or at least minor ways that we're doing things earlier than usual, including this meeting. Thank you, Chuck. I think it was a great idea. Most committees do have a reorganizational meeting, but we have not always held one in the summer. I like it. I hope that we'll continue to do this. I think it's useful. Next on our agenda is the meetings. Pat, do you have meeting dates for us? Yes. And I think last year the cost was covered by the district, am I correct? So the cost is covered by the district for anybody who wants to participate.
I definitely cannot attend because that's an OR day for me. Well, we can make some popcorn and watch it.
I watched after the event last year, and there wasn't really much participation for those of us who would have been live on Zoom anyway. I think it's perfectly sensible to do it later. Yeah. So in your packet, you also have the list of all budget committee members with contact information. If you take a moment to just make sure that yours is correct and give any corrections to Pat so that she can include it on the final version. You also have the liaison assignment request sheet. The liaison groups are groups that meet with particular units in order to go a bit more in depth into their finances than the entire group would have a chance to do at the table and report back. We generally have given these out at the beginning of the fall meetings as well, but it seems we might as well get this organized a bit sooner since we're here. And so if you could fill this in and hand it back, that would be wonderful. We have one overachiever who has already handed hers in. Good. Last but not least, you have a sheet of policies and procedures. It seemed a good idea to put these in one place, talk about a few of the ones that are current, and to invite you to, although of course we can discuss it today, to invite you to take this home and bring back any discussion to our first meeting if there are any that you feel need to be addressed, changed, tweaked, and so forth. For those who are newer to the schedule or thinking about the fall, we typically meet on Tuesdays at 7. It's not every Tuesday, but it is every Tuesday for a little while we're doing the important work. And snow days are usually on Thursday. If we need to choose an alternate day for a meeting, then it's generally Thursday as well. So those are the 2 evenings to block out. Since we had the shift to defining attendance as in person, it becomes more important that you pay a bit of attention to your calendars towards that. That said, the attendance policy comes from RSA and is very, very liberal. You would have to miss 4 consecutive meetings, all without excuse, in order for it to affect your participation or your membership in the committee. And so I do encourage you to, if you cannot come some night, it's not the end of the world. As much as we all want to be here every time, you do have absences, and I assume people will exercise them occasionally in that regard. Thoughts or questions so far? Yes. If you'd like it to be an excused absence, email or contact the chair in order to pass that along. In email, we have a shared email address that is monitored both by the officers and by Pat, who is at this point empowered to answer emails either after consultation if it's matters of importance, or deleting spam without bothering to refer to anybody for permission to do that. Is there anything else on this that folks have questions about at this time?
I do have a question. I know that in person is now the preferred format, the required format, but if you could not, for example, could you still call in if you could not be there in person, or just not attend?
So there's nothing, the letter of it does not prevent you from calling in. It prevents you from being a voting participant in that meeting. But I would say that if you can't come, tend your life, and we'll see you next time. Yeah. Yes, they are all taped for posterity, so. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts at this time?
So I know last year we ended up pushing back the start date, I believe, to November or late November. And I think that was just due to a few unfortunate circumstances. Are we on track for, do we think October? Have we heard anything that it would get pushed back?
So the intent at the moment is to have the first meeting on October 17th, if that is one that will work for the majority of the group. It is after, is it Columbus Day? Yes. Yes. There are other school, and even though Columbus Day is not actually on the day, the 10th, people are doing things around that space, and so it seemed the most useful one to start up with. So that would make that our first meeting, and at that time we'll schedule the other ones out from that point. $7 p.m. is the standard, and that one is at 7 p.m., yes. We don't know where yet, though, do we? Okay. Okay. Next, we circle back to public participation. That is something that we may want to talk about at the beginning in the autumn as well, and that is if there are other ways that public participation has become the norm with other town and district committees, in addition to in-person attendance, and if we want to consider that for ourselves as well. But I don't have more shape than that general idea at this time, at least. So I will close public participation. Chuck.
I know how difficult it is to get meeting space in the town of Merrimack, and that from time to time, we wish we had a little more flexibility to compete with all the other things in the school district. As the vice president of the Historical Society, I would like to offer the Budget Committee meeting space anytime that it's convenient for them to arrange when something else is more difficult. The Historical Society has the most up-to-date technology of any meeting space in the town of Merrimack. We can accommodate 40 people, and we have the technologies.
Oh, that is very much appreciated. Thank you. What is the location you're talking about?
It's 10 Depot Street. The building is the old number 3 schoolhouse and is still owned by the district, but it is rented by the Historical Society, and we expect to be there in perpetuity. We've done a great deal to improve the property, not just the technologies, but the property itself. And I assure you it would be a very worthy and agreeable space for the Budget Committee to meet and function.
Thank you very much. Any member comments at this time? Shane.
I just want to say thank you to Chuck.
Yes.
If it's not the Budget Committee, it's been whatever over the years in the town, just devoting, I don't know, how long you been here? 50 years? 60? We're going to leave it at that. 50 plus years that you've been in the, it's been great. And I wouldn't be on the committee had you not called me and asked me to come and then, push me again to keep going for it. So thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it. Obviously, you're not going anywhere. You're still with us, but, stepping into a new exciting role. So thank you.
Stole my thunder, Shane. Just wanted to say the same thing. Chuck, it's been a pleasure. Oh. It's been a pleasure. I know you were the first person that I talked to when I was thinking of joining the Budget Committee, and I was a walk-on. I was a write-in, so it was a pleasure to talk to you. As always, we appreciate your perspective and all that you've done and will continue to do for not only this committee, not only the school community, but the community as a whole. So it's been a privilege having you as the chair, and I thank you very much for your time. And Naomi, thank you for always being here as a representative of the school board. And Pat, we love you.
Thank you very much, Gina. I'm going to sit next to you at the next meeting.
And I don't know about anyone else, but I look forward to a full return of your opinions and perspectives, unfettered by having to facilitate.
And I'd like to add to that, Chuck, I'd really like to thank you. I know from day one when I was thinking about possibly running for some sort of role in our town, you've always called me, you've always said that I was a rising star, and you've always encouraged me to get involved and make my voice heard as a person who is younger. I really think that you've really helped to move our school district forward through all of your years right here on the Budget Committee, as well as being chair, as well as your involvement in so many other aspects in our town. I think you yourself have been a rising star, and I just thank you for your kind words to me today. That means a lot as someone who's lived in this town for a very long time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
I'd like to add my accolades. I followed your career. Of course, we've both lived in this town for, yes, approaching 50 years. But I have to say that I never had the chance to meet you until I got on this committee, and that was an honor and a privilege. and just to see everything that you've done for this town. It's not just this committee, but all the other things you do and your talents in this town. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be associated with you in any way.
I was going to say, I will pile on,
not
but
done
I will be
yet,
short.
no.
I just wanted to say thank you as well. You have definitely been a part of a lot of things in this town, but to take on the role of chair, it's a different role. And sometimes it comes with some different territory. And as you said a couple of years ago, you really thought that you had to fight to get this group in a position of just feeling more included in conversations, it sounds like. So thank you for that, because I really think, last year was my first year, but it felt like a really successful year with a lot of good conversations with different stakeholders. So that is much appreciated. So thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments?
Changing gears a little bit, I wanted to let everybody on the budget committee know that the school board is having our goal setting meeting on June 22nd. It's an all-day affair. If you as budget committee members have anything that you want maybe to put a word in our ear of things you see as issues or something you'd like us to address, I can't guarantee that we'll get to everything, but feel free to email me, reach out to anybody else on the school board. We would love to hear what's on your mind. Right now, the agenda is we're going to evaluate the goals we set last year first, see where we've made progress on them, see where maybe we haven't. So depending on where we feel we are, we may set some entirely new goals. We may just tweak the old goals. We're going to see what happens. We're exciting. It's going to be a good process.
Can you send out your goals from last year? Can
Sure.
you email them to us?
Yeah, I have it somewhere. I'll find it and I'll send it to
No,
Naomi.
we have it in the binders, but they have their goals from their goal meeting and then what they reached and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. There's just like 5 bullet points.
Yep.
And yeah, I can send that.
Yeah,
I'll
we
send
can
that to
forward it
Naomi.
outward. Chuck.
I would be glad to submit written statements to the board, but as our liaison, I'd like to take this opportunity to immediately verbalize the paramount need for an SAU building and the number of reasons that now is the time are almost too numerous to be particularized. We have a significant history, and for perhaps as much as 15 years, it was a deferred item with some indifference. It was an emergency 20 years ago. It remains an emergency. And I would hope that the Budget Committee would agree that it is an imperative for the school board to consider and undertake with all immediacy.
Any other comments? Yes, Michelle.
I want to say thank you, Chuck, too. I too was a walk-on last year. I applied for the open position, and you were very kind to me when you called and said, hey, I got your resume, and I asked you about the particulars of the board and what was needed and those type things, and you were very kind to explain all of that. So when I showed up at my first meeting or the interview process or whatever, at least I had an idea of what I would be undertaking should I have gotten the position. So thank you for that. And then I have a forward-looking thing from an efficiency standpoint, and I don't know if as I've only been through this process once, right? So I caveat that. But what I found last year as a considerable amount of time for the school administrators was sitting in front of the school board, right? And then sitting in front of us once, twice, and then talking to us in our meetings of 4 or what have you, right? So it's almost like they had to repeat the story at least 4 different times, right? Obviously, there's different questions at different times or what have you, but is there any way, or does it even make sense to figure out a way that they can tell their story once or twice instead of 4 different times? Or maybe, I don't know what the answer is, and I apologize, I don't have an answer to what I'm posing here, but it just seemed to me that we were asking the administrators for a considerable amount of time for them to say the same things over and over and over, just to a different set of people.
We can certainly ask them if they have any thoughts of how it might be made more efficient from their perspective. Yes. Yeah, I'd
And
be happy to.
Just to add on to that, Naomi, I don't know if there's a way for them. I know they present in front of both our group as well as present in front of the school board as well. Is there a way to have them present to both at the same time instead of them having to present to each of us by ourselves?
So I agree that there's room for shifting around in there, and I hope that we find something helpful. I think that it's going to be important to remember that when they talk to the school board, they're talking to their bosses. And when they're talking to us, they're talking to a financial committee. And so there's a need to both become more parsimonious, I absolutely agree, but also make sure that we don't remove their opportunity to share with us things that might be more tricky to share in front of their bosses. And so that'll be the space to look for.
I agree, because if you actually watch all of the meetings and then you sit in on enough subcommittee meetings, they don't say the same things. You're not asking the same things, and they are addressed a different way. So you may have friends in your mom's group that say, hey, how about this? And you sign up for this committee this year, and then you take those questions and they never had those, or they didn't have those thoughts. So I know it looks tedious and there probably could be a little more cohesiveness, but it's a process, and there's a certain amount that's presented before the budget's set, then there's the budget setting, and then there's the review, and then there's the final acceptance. So
if now is the right time to bring up too, I would, on the path of maybe more efficiency, maybe we can think about ideas of how to print less paper and maybe have some digital copies sent to us for review, as part of our review. While the binder is great and full of information, it's very hard and tedious to actually do any kind of analytical type reviews on paper with that stuff. So I think soft copies would be helpful, and probably also help in terms of not having someone spend so much time printing so many binders.
So the PDF has been available. Are you talking about having it in a form where you can manipulate the numbers more
Yes.
easily? Okay.
And understand if that's not possible, it may be maybe something to consider.
For the accountants in the room, Excel would be lovely.
I don't see the binders going away, frankly, but I think that we can absolutely either let people opt out of the binder if they would like to do so, and see if there's another format that you would prefer that we can also get going for some of the numbers.
I put a lot of information that I was looking at from the committees that I was on. I retyped it into Excel. So
I believe
I
it.
could see so I could see kind of where it was versus what I was looking at in multiple sections and multiple pages of the binder.
So we will make sure that nobody's head explodes, neither the Excel nor the non-Excel people will have exploding heads as a result of the process. Anything else? Any other comments? Then it's time for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Abstaining? We are adjourned.